It's like a billboard. It's like a booty billboard.
Booty billboards.
Hey, it's me, Claudia from Skills Pay Bills, and I am here with one of my good friends, Anthony from Poets Underground, and we're going to talk about a lot of really cool shit like booty billboards.
Oh my god. Scratch that. We got to think of something else.
Exactly.
Just kidding, guys. Don't take our idea.
No. But, dude, you guys just had a really successful event at Verbatim Books.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures, and it looked like a lot of fun.
It was a great night, full of emotion, full of process, full of community coming together to celebrate. We had the anthology release, and our featured poet was there for about 35 minutes, spitting fucking fire the whole fucking time. Really got amazing feedback from her set, and then we, as you saw, we exampled our San Diego Airport proposal gig example, and it went amazing. Me, Sunny, and Aubrey were like, we killed it. So,
dude, that's so exciting.
It was a great, and we sold books. It was
cherry on top,
right?
Yeah,
we made some money, and we put the books for sale there. So if you guys want to get a copy of the Poets Underground Volume 2 anthology, still here, you can go over to Verbatim in North Park and grab a copy.
That's so exciting. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I saw it was like a packed house.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
always good.
I did get FOMO.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Well, you kind of told us you guys were coming.
I know. Well, what happened with that?
I don't know.
It
was probably Manny's fault.
Yeah, it was Manny's fault. Since he can't defend himself, we'll blame it all on him. He's like, fuck you.
He's like, I can't say anything.
I know. He's like this.
I'm in the background, but I'm mentally flipping you off.
I know. We like it. I'll take it, But dude, I think it's like really interesting. You were a combat veteran, right?
I can't take that title.
Okay.
But veteran.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And then because it's like, and now you're transitioning in like poetry.
Yeah.
Those are like two different worlds.
Totally. And to put it pretty bluntly, like there's no emotions in the military.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was pretty difficult getting kicked out. I got kicked out for not taking the vaccine back in 2022. Yeah, 22. And getting out was extremely difficult. And it was more so a lifesaver, along with my wife, Sunny, my beautiful wife, Sunny, as my lifesaver. And poetry literally saved me from completely going over the deep end with, everything that was going on at the time. And diving myself into poetry, and it literally saves lives. Poetry actually heals. It literally does, and that's what our mission is. That's what we're trying to tell people. We're trying to get the word on the street. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But
which is it's such a a powerful statement, right? Poetry heals, and since we're in June month, and it's basically Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I
didn't
don't know
if
you. And so there's a lot of really insane statistics and percentages and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I feel especially being raised in a very machismo household, I feel like men really don't have that. Sometimes permission to really express themselves, or those kind of gender roles, right? Where their society gives them, where they're like, you're a man, you can't cry, things like that.
Things that have been passed down from our fathers.
Exactly.
And I really take heart in, being completely different than my father, if I'm putting it bluntly. I'm trying to break many generational curses and break some chains that pass on to my 4 boys of, how to be a man, what we have to do to survive, what we have to do to cope, what we have to do to express ourselves, what we have to do to be happy, what we want to do and be in our own ways, because they're going to be, they're going to be going into a world that we have no idea about. Like, let's be real.
So true.
Let's be real. There's crap going on in these streets and on these, in media and across the world, like, that we have never experienced.
Exactly.
Like, AI is going to be like, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
iRobot and Terminator were not fictional movies. That shit's really happening. Like, there's
a lot of movies where I'm like,
Claudia, there's a car that drives itself.
Yes.
And you can sit in it.
Yeah.
There's also a taxi that drives itself around San Francisco and San Diego and LA. And I'm like, it literally is like a Google car where it has cameras all over and it literally drives itself.
That is freaking crazy.
So yeah, like, our kids, we got to put so much into our kids. And
yeah. And
I'm not perfect. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, like, it's definitely hella hard. It's so hard to do that. And be be the change that you want to see in the world, but like that's what we gotta do, and
Yeah.
that's like what poetry is for me too. Just like, okay, how can I do this different? I know I messed up in this area. I know I did this in this area, but what can I really do differently this time?
For sure. I love that, like, you're using poetry as like a coping mechanism, because it's like, I do the same thing with like sewing. They're probably like, dude, you freaking dropped some deep shit with us. But it is very therapeutic.
Yeah.
The process of like sitting there and I've always enjoyed writing. I'm not a good writer. I just write how, like,
That's a lie.
like, I'm like, I feel like that, and,
Yeah.
and I like looking back at them. And I think I showed Manny, every year I have like a book, and like, it usually takes about a year, but sometimes it takes less. And I write stuff in there, like almost like journaling, but also like goals and ambitions and, all that kind of stuff. And I was like towards like the end of like the page of like this book, and I'm like, and it was like seriously in December, so I'm like, perfect time to get like a new book, and so I was like really excited, and I'm like, go to the first page and started reading everything that I wrote, and it was like, I think it was like August 2020, and it was so insane to like read it, and I was like, you're gonna look back at this one day and you're just gonna laugh, and I was like, oh my God, it was so creepy, because you don't remember all those like little tiny like details of like a day, or like how you felt, or how, that kind of stuff. And so being able to put it down on paper, and I also feel that like putting it down on paper, at least for me, like it feels like no one's judging me there, and you're just kind of like letting it all out, and like freaking I have a few books, and so sometimes I'm like, writing all, like trying to like manifest things and doing all that kind of stuff, and then there's like pages where they're like, you're like, this one has a lot of tear marks on it,
or this one has so many like mine like scratched out, like for everybody listening, that I've only used pen. I've always been strictly on pen, because I don't like getting rid of something like eraser, like, or typing even sometimes. Like, of course, I'm not going to lie, I use it on my phone. Yeah. I write on my phone. Yeah. I have to if I'm, out and about. But if I'm like writing, I want to see what I scratched out. I want to see my initial thought. I want to see what was birthed initially before crossing out, before changing it, like, okay, what do I go back on? Or like, so I can see the thought process, or I can see where I didn't want to put this here or that there, and you can still have it. Sometimes there's more scratch marks than usual, so you can really not see what I'm doing. Or it might just be a simple line, and then I can be like, all right, did I say that before? Yeah. Because we can't remember everything.
God, for sure.
Lord knows I have a horrible memory. So,
dude, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that's why I'm always like pen only.
I love, I've always liked pen. I think I remember the trauma of like middle school where they're like pen only, and you're like, oh my God, we're not ready. I
what
still
if
need
I
an
mess
eraser.
Up? What if I mess up?
I think at that time it was like popular that there was like pens that had erasers.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I could be professional and still make mistakes.
That's good.
But it was like, yeah, you could still kind of tell, but it was a good idea at the time. And, but I do like the idea of like actually putting it on pan and then seeing like where you remove and like what you add and like how it starts to like build. Because even like that is like, I would love to see that in like the book. Where you're like the process of like being able to see like someone's like thought process of like, wow, like it's not so easy, because a lot of,
I mean, I know what you're saying, like on the phone or when we type, like there it is. That's the product.
Exactly.
That's it. You don't know how long this took. You don't know you don't know if I did this 2 seconds ago or if I did it 9 years ago.
Exactly.
You don't know if this took so much strain, if it's taking the backstory out of the story,
exactly.
and like we just got, when we were in, we took a road trip, starting on Christmas and then we came back the day after New Year's.
Nice.
So we had like a week-long trip up the coast, up north. So we literally went all the way up to Shasta, and we hit Oregon, and then we hit Seattle, came all the way down the other side, and went and spent New Year's in San Francisco.
Super cool.
And I completely forgot what my point was of why I was telling you this.
It's okay.
But like, yeah.
But that's like, I mean, I feel like any kind of road trip is like very like invigorating. You're like, wow, I didn't know like we needed like this kind of trip.
Oh, I remember now. I'm so sorry. Like,
it's okay. You're fine.
Literally. But we went in Seattle and we saw, we were at the Space Needle and we found the book of Kurt Cobain's notebook.
Oh shit.
So like, and it had the book was like kind of photocopied of his actual like lyric book.
Whoa.
And all the craziness that went on like during like through with Lithium and that whole album and everything in it, like, and it had all this crazy stuff. So like that's what like I was reminded of when we were talking like that, where it's like, whoa, it's like so intense because my notebooks are intense.
Exactly. But even like the doodling and like the the side notes and it's just so raw. And I feel like poetry is that, right? It's like that rawness of like, and slowly you start to like fine tune it. So I feel like it's like a great, thing for like life. It's like we're very, we come to like points in our lives where we're like, whoa, we're going through like this one thing. Maybe we don't even know like where we're going to go, but it's like we slowly like start to like fine tune ourselves into like the direction of like, and especially having like someone that is like such a like a rock, right? Like Sunny, where she's like, hey, like this is like your rock. So it's like it makes it easier to like, on when there's moments where you're like, oh damn, this is some hard shit. It's like you could just go towards like your rock and basically like feel like even if you're falling apart, there's still that person that they're gonna love you even though you're like falling apart.
You guys plan this?
Yes.
You guys planning this is
we want you to propose. I'm just kidding. You're like
again.
You're like shh. It zooms in on your face. You're like, we'll make a ring right now.
Claudia, can you sew me a ring?
Yes. Done.
But it's true, and I've fallen on my face.
Yeah.
A lot. And having, my wife there through the thickest shit is something that like you can't buy, you can't replicate, you can't fabricate, you can't create. You can't, it just happens. We were just supposed to happen. And we were just supposed to be together. And
it's so crazy, like, I feel like we're similar in the way that like we both work with our partners, you know, and you're kind of like, we spend a lot of time with these motherfuckers.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, I'm glad you brought that up because it's real. Because and it's like I feel like you guys are like one of the only few people that really understand it. Like, because they could, we all got our couple friends, or like our just friends in general that can understand what we do.
Yeah.
But it ain't until the real ones that know, like, when we're working together, we work together. So, like, we're doing business together and we're being intimate and we're, you know, developing products while parenting.
Exactly.
What, like, and it's difficult, man.
It is really like, it is difficult, you know, because you're like, whoa, there's like so much and there's so many like roles, and it's like, you're like, oh, this motherfucker just got mad at me for that, and then like it's like cuddle time and you're like, no, you know, because you're like, you made me mad earlier, you know, but it is like all these like different like juggling acts, but it's like at the same time it's like it's such a beautiful experience, right? Because it's like who has like your best interest in mind. It's not going to be like some random person that isn't invested in like what you want or your happiness.
It ain't even my parents.
Exactly. So it's like someone that like genuinely is like there. And like I remember Manny, he's like, I think it was like 2020, and like I was like, whoa, like the world is like falling apart, and I was like, there was like so much uncertainty where I was like, we should just focus on like being happy for like every single day. Just focus on being happy. Yeah. And I remember he told me, he was like we always go back and forth, and like he's like, this is a good opportunity, and I was like, you know, and I'm like frustrated, and he's like, trust me, and I was like, okay, and he's like, just trust me because no one's got your best interest like me. And he's like, I'm always going to be that person that is going to be rooting for you. He's like, no one else will be like that with you. He's like, I have your best interest. He's like, plus he's like, you know, this affects like our family. It affects like our daughter, you know, all these kind of things that like, you know, someone's like even happiness and like, you know, where they're going in like their career, like is gonna like affect the whole household, you know, because it's like, if you're happy, like obviously like everyone around you is gonna like feel that, you know, but if you're not, it's like, you know, everyone's gonna also feel that tension.
Damn right. That's,
you know,
so me and Sunny were talking about how the kids can pick up on just our like I don't know how to describe it, but me and Sunny are like super like energy beings. Yeah. Like we feed off energy. We can feel energy. I mean, I guess it comes with the job, like with what we do with hosting and everything. Yeah. But like, because there's times where I'm like, babe, did you feel that? Like when we like somebody said some crazy shit, or like we give some feedback and I was like, ooh, I didn't feel right. Like what's going on? Like we literally like go up and down with the energy of the room. And we just see that like the kids literally are just like in flow, in like perfect harmony when me and her are at our best. And not to say that like we don't want to strive for that every time. That's impossible to be at our best every time. But like we appreciate it. And I think the thing to get out of this like conversation as a whole is just to be so gracious about the circumstance and our opportunity with the partners that we have and what we do, and just be proud of that and just use that to go forward, you know, like. Yeah, it might be difficult, but damn, it's so rewarding. Yeah, it is. It's so rewarding. And you know what? I'm like totally right there with you, right? Where it's like the kids kind of like sense it. And even me, like as a kid, like I feel like everyone has like that way of like being able to read like or sense like energies. People just don't tap into it, and they don't want to like really like see it as like, oh shit, like this is the energy that I'm getting. They rather like suppress it and be like, oh, you know, than actually like it's your gut instinct telling you like, hey, this is kind of like weird and a little shady, but then you're like, but you know, and your gut is telling you, it can go either two ways. Exactly. You know, or they just don't even tap into it, or they, you know, like I know exactly what you're saying.
And you know, with like especially like relationships, households, all that kind of stuff, when kids are involved, like for me, like I think one of the things is like we don't talk about it a lot, where it's like we obviously always want to like strive to basically be like, wow, we're like happy and we're having a good time and all that kind of stuff. But it's like we're also allowed like those days where you're like, I just don't feel like 100%, and like that's cool, you know, and like it's okay, and like we're all allowed those kind of days, because I feel like how are we trying to like then teach kids how to like show up for themselves, where they're like, hey, today I feel great, but like maybe in like 5-6 days like you're kind of like in this place of like, you know, I feel good, but it's like I'm not like, you know, my 100%, you know, and it's like I feel like we're constantly like, you have to either be really happy and like you're not allowed like these days to like just kind of, you know, almost getting your feelings. And especially like days like this, like for me, like I'm a Cancer, so I'm like, why is it so gloomy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so if it lasts for, you know, a few days, then I start to kind of like, you know, I'm like contemplating life. I'm like
getting sucked into what is around.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's I've actually like, you know, not gonna lie. I've been that sometimes. I'll be like, you know, like no, I want to be happy. I'm striving to be happy. Or like the toxic, you know, positivity sometimes has came a rise, but then like really try to break it down too, where we give more compassion to those times when one of the kids needs, you know, to go at their speed for that day.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, you know, somebody needs some one-on-one time with mom or dad. And, you know, we got a blended household of 5.
Yeah.
Like, one's going to college, so we got 4 boys now.
Oh, damn.
That they're going to be running around. And, you know, and so...
That's awesome.
So many emotions, so many,
which is good.
Exactly.
It's so good, especially for boys to be able to like express their emotions and to, like I said, it's Men's Mental Health Month, and so it's like how I remember, you know, I have a younger brother, and he was always very anxious as a kid, like super anxious, and you know, my mom was like, let me make you a tea, you know, and because he would just get so worked up. But I also had a dad that was like, men don't cry, men don't clean, men don't fucking, you know, and he's like, wait, like, and my mom was always like, don't you want him to be self-sufficient and not have to rely on like a person to like do all these things for him, you know? And he was just, you know, so it's like in this household, it was like so conflicting where he's like, I'm a man, but it's like also like, and he was like the first like boy that was like born, so it was like so many like high expectations, especially like in a Mexican household, you know, where he's like, he's the man of the house and he's in charge, and you know, but it's like you've also like suppressed his like emotions,
and you've also kind of totally not speaking for your dad or anything, you know what I'm just saying in general, like we in those senses we have kind of already placed an identity on them from behind us, and before he's ever, or that's, you know, hasn't even started yet.
Exactly.
We take these
the expectations
from the generation after us, and that's what I don't want to have happen. I don't have an expectation for my sons to accept, for them to, you know, think that they've served their purpose in life, that they've done exactly what they were put on this earth to do, and you know, find happiness, find love, like get some money, but you know, but like we're not here to uphold a standard from the generations before us. We are here to they're here to be them, and whatever they are, that's awesome. You know, like,
which is good, because I feel like
that's some like, you know, projecting from my own my own demons in closet. So like, you know,
I totally feel you, because it's like I feel like, you know, being like a daughter of an immigrant, you know, and like my parents freaking coming to this country and making like this huge sacrifice, and then me being like, I want to be an artist. And they're like, fuck you, what the fuck? We fucking crossed the border.
You know what we fucking did?
We almost got robbed. You're fucking trying to fucking do fucking finger painting, arts and crafts shit. But you know, there is a lot of that almost like guilt, right? Where you're like, well, they made this huge sacrifice, and then you're like,
that's that expectation you're talking about, that you have, that before you were even born, that you were labeled to have a sense of the expectation to do something because of who came before you. I mean, that's honestly, that's great in some circles. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a toll. Sometimes it's a big burden. Yeah. You know, like think of like, I don't know. Like just think of like kids of you know, Major League Baseball players.
For sure.
Living in a shadow of their dad.
And like the common phrase of like, there's big shoes to fill. Yes. And then you're like, bitch, I fucking know that.
If I want to wear fucking sandals.
I know. Flip-flops.
Yes. What if I don't wear freaking, Sunny's going to hate me. What if I want to wear Crocs?
Thank you.
What if I want to wear
they're comfy.
I used to use them as shower shoes in the military. She laughs every time. they fucking work.
At least you didn't get like,
MRSA?
Exactly. There you
I
go.
did.
Oh. Well, the Crocs didn't work.
I got bit by a brown recluse actually.
Whoa.
And I almost got my foot cut off.
Whoa.
Yeah. Long story short, in basic, I got bit by a brown recluse. I just shook it off. Thought it was like athlete's foot because it was like starting red and stuff, and just tried to,
Do you remember where you got bit?
It was. I have no idea where, but I mean, it was on my toe. It was like in between my big toe and my middle toe.
Shut up.
Yeah, and then so like I just tried to tough it out. I was like, nobody. This is infantry basic.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck about anything.
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, I couldn't fit my foot in my boot because it was just swollen up so bad, turned like purple and black, and didn't really show anybody because I was like, I don't want anybody to notice. So then one morning I couldn't fit my foot in the boot, and I had to go down to first formation, and Joe Sarn's yelling at me, and I literally had to go and get it taken care of. And the doc's like, if you came in a day later, we would have took your foot.
What?
Yeah. Then I started over in basic, which was fun.
That is seriously my biggest fear ever.
Spiders?
It's like getting, like, I don't, this might be a little sensitive for some people, but I don't ever like mind like, whah! And like, some people are very sensitive to like, you shouldn't kill insects.
Oh, yeah,
and it's like, okay, that motherfucker was going to bit me. So, but that is like I'm not, if I see a spider, I'm not going to run out. Or if I see like a rat, like I don't run out, but like that's like one of my biggest.
But that bitch is dying.
Yeah, that bitch is dying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's my sole purpose in life. If Sonny or anybody's, Dad, oh my God, there's a spider in the bathroom. All right, I'm coming. But then I still have to sit here because since that experience, I'm freaked out as hell from spiders.
I'm sure.
They make my skin crawl. I used to not be like it, but I'm like, ugh. Like, no, spiders, screw that. But then we have Abel, our youngest, wants to go to Australia just to see the hugest spiders in the world.
Hell no.
And he's so, like, if there's a spider in the house, he'll come like inches to the freaking spider. And he's like, whoa.
Dude, now they have like this really cool like little magnifier that like you basically put it right on top of the spider and you trap it in this magnifier, and then you're able to like see it, and then you could then take it outside and like dump it.
Well, thank you for giving us Abel's birthday, or
there you go,
Christmas present this year.
Happy birthday.
Oh my gosh. You would love that.
And I love it has a light, so it's like a magnifier, and so it's really cool because I feel like that's where like my fascination with like insects came from, where I was like, I just want to be able to see them up close. But then at the same time it's like you shouldn't like grab one, and I got stung by bees because it's like I picked up a dead one and it still had a stinger. It's like, what? Who does that happen to? Me?
You should have seen I tell Sonny about it. The centipedes in Hawaii.
Huge.
I'm telling you, these suckers, they're poisonous. And if you catch one and you get it, like, actually, this is the thing. If you actually catch one and you like keep it alive, that you can donate to like some like lab or like for research on the island. But these suckers are like this big. They're this fat. They're the fastest things known. Like, I saw a grown ass man stomp on one like 7 times, and this thing didn't die. Like, that's the one thing that we get freaked out about in the field in Hawaii. These big ass centipedes. Oh. And in the middle of the night, one night we were in the field in Makua Valley, like some random training area. We heard, ow, in the middle of the night, just some dude screaming, freaking out in his tent, got bit, and this dude's neck swelled up with a softball sized knot on his neck. Like, seriously, this thing was like this freaking big. And yeah, I don't fuck with insects.
Dude, well, my last insect story, my sister, we were in Guadalajara in like this ranch where my parents are from, where they met, and we first night there, and we're like, yeah, we haven't been back since like this was like our only like family trip that we took together. And so it's like 8 of us, we rolled deep to like this ranch, and she was like sitting with her hoodie on her waist, tied to her waist, and when she goes and puts it on, there's a fucking scorpion in there, and it fucking stung her neck 2 times. And she was like, what the fuck? And so since it happens so often, right, they're like, drink milk and light a match on your neck and then grab like the remainder of like the scorpion juice and rub it on you. And she's like, shouldn't we go to the hospital? They're like, no. She was like,
that's so.
And like we were all in the same room at night, and she's like, what if I die tonight?
Oh my God, that's so
dramatic. Scared. But it was
that's
like,
so trippy.
because it's like, dude, we don't have those here. And she was like, dude, the next day it was like, fucking, it looked like a rash that like traveled all the way up here, and then slowly it started to go down. But it was pretty intense.
That's
and
wild.
So I felt like, so, you know, because my aunts, they both have like, you know, these houses where it's like they're both teachers and educators and stuff, and so they have like these, you know, like a nice house compared to like my other aunts that live in like this ranch and stuff. And they were like, we're gonna fumigate and we're gonna, you know, and so they go above and beyond, and she goes outside and brings it in. And my aunt was like so scared because she's like, we fumigated, we made sure that like, you know, they came like a week before, you know. And so it was like this whole thing. So she was like freaked out. And after that I was like, hell no, like it was just, yeah. So after that I was like, no, can't, like,
no.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
But dude, that's so awesome that, you know, you're doing this really cool project.
Yeah.
You know, Poetry Heals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our next venture is me and Sunny are finishing up our anthology for High Tech High Mesa.
Nice.
With the students there that we had the Poetry Heals program implemented, which was highlighted on KPBS.
That's so good.
Yeah. So we're super pumped about that. And then we are starting our contract with the refugees at Kupanda.
Whoa.
For 2 years now. I think Sunny spoke on it a little bit. But yeah, we're bringing the spoken word and poetry heals to refugee kids.
That's awesome.
And, with this organization called Kupanda. Our first intro session with them went extremely well.
I'm sure.
A group about 15 girls, and we were telling them all about us and what we plan to do. And our next session, we're going to bring a guest poet in and have them tell their story about. I think our poet was from Palestine.
Wow.
Or in the Middle East, and has very extremely massively amazing content to her poetry where it literally just drives a knife in your freaking heart where you're like, whoa. And Sunny talked to her at Verbatim, and she's like, yeah, I'd love to do that. So we're super pumped about that. So
dude, that's very exciting.
Yeah. Big things.
I'm so impressed, this whole transition from veteran to poet. You know, it's because it's you do see it as one of those things where it's so tough and, no emotion to all of a sudden pouring out all the feelings and all that kind of stuff,
it has its repercussions.
Oh, no, I'm sure. But it's what a beautiful transition.
Yeah.
It almost feels like such a beautiful evolution of an expression, and it's and I do want to talk about more about Poetry Heals, because obviously being June and mental health wellness for men, and I just wish more men that were around me, like my brothers, brother-in-laws and stuff, were a little bit more emotional. Because it's you just don't, my mom was very cold.
Yeah.
She was very cold, and I was always that's kind of weird, I never understood that. And then she told me one day, she's like, I just didn't know what an example would be of a person that wasn't that. And for me, I was I understand that, but I also couldn't take that as because it's what that is. You're wow, that's really cold.
Yeah.
And then you're I just don't want that. What would be the opposite of that? And you can envision this very you know, nurturing and very like loving and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so for me, like, I was just kind of like, I get it, but we can't just use like horrible representation and just take it and like run with it, you know. So but I love that you literally were like, it saved, poetry saved you.
It saved me more than once. Saved me growing up, you know, struggling with drugs and alcohol, and the relationship that was pretty brutal with my father, and you know, and he was cold. I know what you mean. You know, I think it's the same gender type of thing, you know, where like the mom is for the women, and then the dad is for the men. And it makes sense, but like that, like you said, it does take a toll. It does take an effect. And being cold or having, like, my dad was emotionless. The dude just none. So that played a little bit, you know, and growing up in the military, like literally I joined the military when I was 19.
Whoa.
I didn't know shit, you know, and I had a full-time graveyard shift job before that. Whoa. Like driving forklifts, which was with my dad, right after high school. So like, you know, I literally grew up in the military.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that they don't teach you in the military is how to express yourself or control your emotions. Exactly. The way that they control your emotions is being sucked into the mission first. The mission came before everything. Came before you, came before your family, came before your wants, your needs, everything. Military comes first. And, you know, that being mental health for Men Month, like, we got to be more aware of really what we want to give our energy to, and what we want to really achieve on all sides of the spectrum of, you know, just our life in general. Like, because I spent 10 years placing the mission first. And that was the wrong thing to do. A decade of placing the mission first. That was, I'm telling you right now, some people can disagree with me. Some people will call me a fake, whatever, like, you know, but I did put the mission first. I was a badass. I did some cool shit.
Still are.
I did
still doing cool shit.
Yeah, I still did cool shit, but like, come on, man, I can't get those years back. I miss birthdays. I miss, you know, milestones. Yeah. So like now, the beauty of where we are, what me and Sunny are doing together as a couple, as ourselves, like with poetry, is that, one, we're fucking doing it together. Like, we are together in this. And
the mission is this now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's dope.
This is the mission.
Yeah. And then but not letting something else like an institution or a systematic, like, you know, thing being in control of what I do.
Exactly. Or suppressing, like,
exactly,
you know, these, like, censoring you, doing all those kind of things, you know, and I feel like, you know, Sunny does play like a huge role in, like, you know, like really hyping you up. And like every time that I see you guys, you know, she's like, oh, you know, and which is really like cool to like see, because you're like, you know, it's
yeah, I hype her up too.
Yeah.
We hype each other. No, we seriously.
Like, I don't know about that.
I don't know if you do it.
You don't tell me that all the time.
No, but like, we are literally our biggest fans. But she does it in this way that's like she just knows how to speak to me. Like, when I'm doing a piece and she's like, that portion, take that shit out. It sounds like shit. I was like, what? She's like, no, that doesn't even fit. You put this here, put this there. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, this is amazing. This is exactly what I needed. And like, or half the time it's even worse and I get fucking jealous. But she adds things to my poems or like my pieces that I don't think of, and it fucking fucks with me, but I have to give her the props. We have this thing. We're like, all right, like, you know, props are due when props are due.
Exactly.
It just happens. But
exactly.
There's things like that where we're feeding off each other. And she is, and she always
which I love.
Pumps me up. We were pumping each other up at fucking verbatim. It was awesome.
Well, like that's the beautiful part, right? Yeah. Where it's like you have someone that could see like all the potential and like, you know, how much work you put into it and all that kind of stuff. So they're like, dude, yeah, like, you know, and if your partner isn't the one that's like hyping you up and doing all that kind of stuff, it's like, come on. Like, who would, you know? So it's like, that is like one of the things where, you know, I think that, you know, growing up with like a very cold, you know, like parent, sometimes for me, I'm like, I don't know how to take this, you know, like emotion and like love from like someone, and you're like, what do I do, you know? And it seems like so like weird to basically like, I don't know what to do with like you wanting to love me right now. But it's like it's
true
it's
though.
true,
I mean, shit happened the other day. Me and Sonny were doing something, and something happened. Like, we just got some good news.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, that's good, right?
Yeah.
She's like, no, this is amazing. This is great news. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, no, this is great news. Like, hey, hello, you home?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, no, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just not there, you know, like, and so I get you. I struggle with that sometimes.
And
like,
you know what? Like for me, like I'm right there with you. A lot of the times, like, you know, people are like, "Oh my God, that is like the greatest thing," and I'm like, "Yeah," you know, and you're like, "It's great," you know, and you're just like, "Yeah," and it's like, and I want to be more present in like those things, right? When they happen, because it's like there was like a point in our lives where that's what we wanted, and like now we're there. And like everything aligned itself for it to be there. Yeah. And like you're being fucking ungrateful. And then you're just like, oh shit. And that's the realest shit. I know that's harsh.
No, that's the realest shit. That's so real, because there was one time where I prayed for this exact life. I prayed for the things that I have. I prayed for this beautiful wife. I prayed for this beautiful profession, these opportunities. I prayed to be out of the military and doing the thing I love with poetry. So when God's like, yo, I'm giving it to you. Yeah. It's not going to look like something that's a cookie cutter, like, hey, this is your perfect life now. Exactly. No, it's going to come with attacks from the other side. It's going to come with obstacles that's going to see how strong you are. It's going to test your motivation. It's going to test your determination, and test your love. It's going to do everything. So, that's real as fuck. That's real as fuck.
Yeah, I was in the car yesterday. I was driving to go and sort through fabric, you know, which I was like, oh, this is fun, you know. And so I was in this car, and I was with one of the interns here, and I was like, sorry, my car's a mess, you know. And I started to think about like my car was never like a mess, you know, like I when I got my first car that like I bought, you know, and I got a line of credit for, because it's like my parents are undocumented. So it's like they can't fucking have bank accounts, you know? So it's like, then you're like, oh shit, how do you navigate like wanting to like build credit when you're like, you know, a
how
kid?
Do you do the things that you have no idea how
shit, you know?
That you have no idea how to do. Where does that come? There's no fucking pamphlet for that.
No. And so I was like, I've never had a dirty car, you know, so it's like, and then so I started thinking back of like my first car, you know, and like how I was like so proud every Friday to like go to the car wash because I had a nice car. And then I was like driving, and I was like, yeah, I had a nice car because I lived with my mom, you know, but it's like I had a nice car, and I was like so like, you know, I just freaking like, I appreciated it, and I was like so grateful, and it was like, you know, I would like clean it all the time, and I was like, you know, and I think those actions showed how grateful I was, you know, and how like I worked so hard to get like this thing that like, you know, was like, I'm not like a materialistic person, but like showed independence for me, you know. And I was like, whoa. And so it was like really interesting that like I'm in like my car, and I was like, you know, there was like a point where I remember vividly thinking like, I'm gonna get a Prius, and I'm gonna get a Prius because I want to see my family more often, and I want to like drive up to LA, you know. And there was like a time in my life where I was like, I want to get like a Prius and like, you know, this and that. And now I have a freaking Prius that's a fucking mess, you know? And so for me, I'm like,
but you still have a Prius.
But I still have a Prius.
Hey, that's a win. That's a win. Hey, it's just a suggestion.
It's a win. Yeah.
It's a suggestion.
But it was like one of those things where I was like, you know, the actions of like, you know, this intention of like, I want to get like this car because of all these like things, you know, and like wanting to like, and then all of a sudden I was like, I have this thing, and it's like, how do I thank, you know, this experience or whatever, because of like, now I have this thing that I worked hard for, and I, you know, I manifested it, and like, you know, all these kind of things. And I remember going to the dealership and like putting a down payment and like now paying it off. And it's like, and how
it's this whole thing.
And like, I just remember like sitting in the car, and I was like, fuck. It's like when the past and the future and like the present all collide, and you're like, and you know, and the self-reflection of like, you know, am I being appreciative of like these experiences and like this life and, you know, all these kind of things. And, you know, and like, you want to say like, yes, but it's like, are your actions also, you know, because it's like actions obviously speak louder than words. So it's like, how are you going to be like, yeah, I'm so appreciative. But it's like, you wanted this thing for like years and you finally got it. And it's like, how are you going to show like yourself, you know, or the universe, whatever you want to, like, whoever rewarded you with this, obviously, like, I worked fucking hard to get it. But it's like, how are you going to then basically be like, I'm really grateful for this, and like take care of it and do all those kind of things. So I was just kind of like, wow. So I think that the gloominess really like really puts it into like, you know, I start to kind of like think about a lot of like heavy things, and you know, crazy. So sometimes it's good, and sometimes you're just kind of like, you know, and I think that, you know, these are like this kind of like emotionally driven, like, I guess, atmosphere where it's like gloomy, like it's like a perfect time for me to like almost like journal and like document and just kind of be like, you know, these are the emotions that I'm feeling of like, because it does feel like almost heavy and like anxious, where you're like, why isn't like the sun coming out?
No, we literally were just talking on the way out. We're like, what the fuck is this?
Exactly.
Like, this is not okay.
We don't pay for this shit.
This is not supposed to be. This is not that right chemical like drizzle that they told us it was gonna be.
Yeah.
This isn't the right stuff that they put up in the airplane to sprinkle down on us. Okay, we asked for sunny. We asked for sunshine.
We did.
We didn't get that.
No, we didn't.
We got fake fog and weird gloominess.
Exactly.
This is some BS.
Which is like so funny because like someone was like, June gloom. And I was
Stop saying that.
I was like, oh shit.
No.
Baby.
I hate that. Like, who made that?
How is it that like
Let's
June
think about
gloom?
That. No. Let's think about that. Okay. So
somebody's July is hot as fuck.
Somebody's saying June gloom.
Yeah.
So that means that somebody somewhere is implementing or fucking with the weather to make it June gloom.
Yeah, it
because it just come from nowhere.
No. Yeah. And it's like, why is June gloom? Like, aren't we like in the shouldn't we be like summer and
Doesn't
like
summer just start in like June?
Yeah.
No. We don't remember this as kids. This is not how it was.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That's where I'm like, not okay with it, you know, but
Sunny's about to freaking freak out on somebody. She's spot on with like how we are like with the whole weather. Like, it's just not the same when we were growing up. Things just look different, feel different, and we're like, what is going on with the weather, man?
It's so crazy because I wrote a paper about climate change a long time ago.
Nice.
And everyone thought I was a crazy vegetarian. But I was like, guys, you know, just like little things that were happening. And I was like, at that, I think it was like maybe like 20 years ago. And I wrote this paper. And I was like very passionate about like climate change and, you know, all those kind of things. And there was a part where it was like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches will save the world.
Absolutely.
You know,
That's
and people were like, what? And I was like so fucking crazy about it that I fucking made flyers and stuck them in like my corporate job, and every refrigerator. Wow. I was like, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at least once a week, and it will drastically impact, you know, climate change. Wow. And people just laughed at me. You know, and like now
and look
I'm
at
like,
what you're doing now.
I know. I'm like, I told you guys.
But it burst into something. You know what I mean? Like maybe it wasn't. I mean, maybe it wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
But look at what you do here at Soloca.
Yeah.
Like, and what you stand for.
Exactly.
What you and Manny do, and like, just maybe you could just be grateful and appreciative when things like that, because you have no idea what that could have birthed from, or what couldn't have birthed from it if you didn't be that person. Because, you know. Talking with one of the professional people that I talk to, you know?
Yeah.
You know, about certain feelings and stuff. But, like, we have to really see and be nice to ourselves and just start to appreciate these appreciate the pain behind the pleasure.
Exactly.
And because if we don't do that, then usually nothing starts that way. Like, nobody enjoys a story that's like, I walked down the street and everything went perfect. I did this today, went perfect. I got my groceries, it went home, I had no problems, it was perfect. I loved it. Nobody wants to hear about that.
No,
they want to hear about the story of how grimy and hard it was to get from the street to home. Some days we don't want to have it, obviously, but I'm saying, but like, the story behind the story is so important. And
exactly,
that's what poetry is. It gives you that blank page to really tell the backstory to the story of your life, or what you're trying to do. And in between those lines, you can be whoever you want, and you can say whatever you want, and nobody's going to judge you, and nobody's going to take anything from you, because that's your home. Yeah. That's your place. That's your
Which is
that's your
great.
spot.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll be completely honest with you guys. Every time that like I see you guys on Instagram or just get reminded of you guys, it really triggers like something in me where I'm like, I'm going to write more, and like, I'm not like writing like poetry, but like just writing, because it's like, for me, like, it was just such a therapeutic thing to do where I'm like, hey, like I really think like no one is gonna read this, and I don't want anyone to read it. Like, I want it to be like something where it's like, hey, this is like for me, and like I want to say the things that I can't say out loud. They're not bad things, but it's like how I genuinely sometimes feel, and like when I'm falling apart, and like things like that. So it's like, it does feel like good to basically just write it and then be like, all right, I just dumped it on that piece of paper, not on someone else.
Right.
And
I need to do that so much more.
Yeah.
Than
and
what
so,
I say.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so it's like, every time I see you guys, I'm like, I'm gonna write more. It's like
we wish that we could say the same. We're like, we should sew more. We should sew more.
You guys can.
No, but we just come here and buy it. Like, we just like, okay, well, let's go to Saloka, see our friends, and buy shit. Yeah. Like, no, what you guys do here is fucking phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, we feel the same about you guys, and it is one of those things where it's like, being able to be around people that are utilizing like their passion and their love, to also inspire other people and to give them a purpose, because it's like, I feel like what is gonna make someone happy is giving them a purpose.
We did that at the Make It Last festival.
That's what I'm saying.
We showed that in two different ways. When we partnership and collabed on that, we gave way for people to experience and know that they can do that. Exactly.
Because it's like, a lot of the times you think like, what does poetry look like? What does it sound like? What is it, and it might not be like how you envision it, but it's like seeing it in a different way. Then they're like, wow, I could see myself in that way, and I still get messages from people that they were like, hey, I was there and it was like so great. And, and you're like, whoa. And so just the impact of like how you impact people, is like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
When we're on alignment with the path that we're supposed to be on, things look different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, when we're connected to source, when we're doing what we're supposed to, for us, it's when we're doing God's work, when we're doing what we know in our hearts that we're supposed to be doing, things look different. We meet the people that we're supposed to. We talk to the people that we're supposed to. Yeah. Everything else just falls off, or it's not important. Yeah. We're not going to the club. We're not trying to do this and that. We're not, drinking and driving and doing this and that, all the horrible things, because those things drop off.
For sure.
We have a purpose, and we got a goal. You guys have a goal. Yeah. You guys have a purpose. So I think like-minded individuals that think in that way and operate in that way, we're just on a different wavelength.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. We're probably like on a bunch of coffee and, just.
Yes. Absolutely.
But you're like all amped up. You're like, I can't sit still for more than 5 minutes.
That's me, unfortunately.
But dude, tell us of where we could find the book.
The book?
Where we could, the one that you're working with.
I have no idea what you're talking
about. High-tech high.
What are you talking about? We don't do books.
I'm like, wait. But where we could find it, where we could, if someone wanted to hire you guys for an event, if they wanted to reach out, where would that be?
Got you. 1-800-GHOSTBUSTERS. That's the first place that you would go. Poetsundergroundpress.com. You go and all the tabs you can see about who we are. There's you can book a poet. You can look at our Poetry Heals programs, each one that we do, all on that website. You can access that the Instagram too. Just message us at poets_underground_. That's where another place that you can reach us. Come check out one of our events.
Yeah.
We're very, very, really hard to talk to people. So if you come see us at an event, it's really, no, I'm just totally kidding. We love talking to people.
Yeah.
Come chat it up with us. And then for the books, right now, the ones that are available for purchase are both of our anthologies on Amazon. Poets Underground Volume 1, still here, or Volume 1, and then Poets Underground Volume 2 still here. Those are on Amazon.
Nice.
But the book for the students, it's called Emotions in Motion.
Wow.
We are putting on the finishing touches of it today. Should be published in the next week or so. And then we're going to have a relaunch, or like our actual launch with the students when they come back from school. We're kind of making like an exhibition for them for the next class to come in.
Nice.
So we're going to have all these books, and we're going to bring out, hopefully, Jason, hopefully you're going to be listening to this eventually. We're going to bring him out, and we're going to have like an event showcasing what the students in the grade before did this, so that everybody now is like, okay, they've done this, they've done that. Here's our anthology. Here's what the students have done. And then the next class, like, all right, well, we want to do that. And that's so literally awesome. That's our next adventure, going into the next school year. So that's,
dude, so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Well, I'm excited that you came to hang out.
I know it's been we could go forever.
Oh, I know. This
has been fucking amazing.
Yeah. And we really appreciate you guys just coming out and, moving closer.
Yeah. It was only for you.
Yeah.
It was only for you guys.
Yes.
We literally came here. So like, you know what? Now we can go every day and spend a whole shit ton of money at their place. It's perfect. It's everything I wanted.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Sunny's leaving with like 3 things today. It's perfect. She's like,
thanks, babe. Hey, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Woohoo!
Woo!
Look at.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Really good to listen to. Oh, you guys were all over the place, but it was like really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yes.